Hey, welcome to the Hired AV podcast. My name is Joe Way, and I am your host. And boy, we have a good one for you today because I have my favorite. I won't. I won't tell. I
You
mean, I
probably
say
say
that
that.
to
You
every.
probably
I
say that
do
to
say it
everyone.
to
Yeah.
everybody. Well, and then the first thing I thought is, I can't let Dave Labuscus know that I said that. But
Yes, you can. Yes, you
but
can.
all right, yes, okay, fine. My favorite annual guest, but it's the one I get to kick the year off with every year. And that is because we get to preview ISE. Everyone knows how much I am a huge fan and proponent of ISE, and I've been one early on saying, North America, get to Europe because this is where to be. And it is really, even for higher ed, because we do our installs in summer, we need a plan in the winter, and this is our perfect time. And so we have Mike Blackman on. Please introduce yourself. We're going to, again, let's pretend people don't know who you are and what you do. Please tell me who you are, what you do, your role with ISE.
So, hi, Joe. I'm Mike Blackman. I'm Managing Director of Integrated Systems Events, and we are the organizers of Integrated Systems Europe, which is now the largest audiovisual trade show in the world.
That's a pretty hefty thing to be able to say. And it is absolutely true. So this is year, I'm going to say 4 or 5 in Barcelona.
This
4?
is year, well, we had this little like pretend year where we just did a really small thing in 21. So the
Yeah.
real first show in Barcelona was 22. So we're now on year 3 of
Of
no,
the big
year 4,
of the
22,
biggie.
23, 24, 25. Year 4. Wow. Doesn't time fly?
It does. It's like I almost feel like I'm a local in Barcelona now. Like it's a great feeling to be able to have that. So let's jump in and talk a little bit about everything we start with when I have you on every year is your themes. So connection restored is the theme for this year. Talk a little bit about what you're doing with the show, how you're wrapping that concept around this year's event.
So we've always talked about connections at ISE, but connection restored is more about the basic principle that there's no better way for the AV industry to come together and collaborate. This is the time, once a year, everybody's coming from around the world into one place and reconnecting with each other. It's the time of the year when a lot of companies are launching new products. And we base a lot of it on our 4 key silos: experience, people, innovation, and knowledge. So it's about experience. This is what you're experiencing. You're coming to Barcelona. You're getting to see all of the new things which are coming in, experiencing what the AV industry is about. People, that we're coming together networking. This industry is all about face-to-face. And innovation, well, this is all about innovation. This is where it's happening. And knowledge, well, you can learn. There are classes being presented by the associations of Extensidia. There is a lot of keynotes and conferences on various subjects. The top one this year is AI. Obviously, it's on everybody's lips. And our keynote this year is Brian Solis, who's going to talk about AI. And, everyone wants to know, is it a danger or is it an advantage for me? So we brought in an expert to tell you and say, hey, this is what you need to know.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you have to tell me how should you get the brightest minds? You talk to everyone in the industry. What are your thoughts on AI, and how do you think that we're going to see that at the show? Because it is the hot topic right now.
Yeah, of course. My personal view, AI, I think, is a real benefit to us. It has its dangers, and I think it has to have a certain amount of control to make sure there's not misuse or abuse. And I think any platform, anything that you create, has the danger of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we're sensible about it, what AI can actually help us achieve is phenomenal. And for our industry, when we're talking about hardware solutions that use AI to, looking at some of those manufacturers who are using AI to actually measure the density in a room to adjust the audio, or looking at digital signage solutions where virtual mannequins, all these sort of things that are being created with AI. It's unbelievable. And we had AI as a theme last year, and we continued this year because it's growing and it's getting even better.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you're right on. And I start thinking in AV because we sit in such a central like position for content development with really immersive experiences. And one of the things that I think of is like, especially from the higher ed vertical, we've always talked about. Everyone says, "Oh, put these big LED walls up. Let's do great things, digital signage. Let's do that." And we go, "Oh yeah, that's great from an AV point of view for hardware." But one of the hardest things to do is change content. No one ever wants to, like, you do the great thing for the grand opening and it's the same slideshow 3 years later. So I think
Yeah.
AI and being able to program and have more interactive things brings a huge opportunity for us to create those immersive experiences. And I don't want to say at a low cost of entry, but how about an easier cost of entry, I think.
Well, actually, you think about how it's being used in advertising and filmmaking, then it is a much lower cost than. I mean, I went to a studio recently in Barcelona where they were making a car advertisement using the Unreal Engine, and it was phenomenal. And they said to me, "Well, normally they can actually do this shoot in about 4 days, and normally they need a couple of weeks." Because if the weather changes or something else changes, they have to stop and redo it. And in the studio, they control everything. This is, and it's much cheaper, much faster, and they can be much more creative.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know we're getting off the topic of ISC. We're gonna come back to it, but it's funny because I had this conversation with someone from our film school and said, people are talking about AI and letting these things design, scripts and movies for you. Like, what do you think CGI is that we've been doing? We've just had to manually program it for years. We've never actually been out in the field for
Yeah,
years
true.
doing filming. You know, like,
Well, I don't know about that, but CGI, yeah.
but
But
yeah.
think about it. What we're doing now is so much more realistic.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So one of the things that I love about ISC is how I want to say the immersive experiences, the way you create. I want to say pods and areas of experience. I don't know, like I think of like uh,
Zones.
the zones. That's the word. So talk about the ones you're excited about this year.
Well, I'm excited about all of them, but we have a couple of, we've expanded the size of the show so that the show floor is more than 20% larger than it was last year. We have over 1,500 exhibitors. And just a note, over 350 of those are from China. Big exploding market. But talking about the zones, we've got the one which is closest to your heart, which is education technology.
Yeah.
And in that zone, we've actually got a connected classroom. We basically, a whole load of exhibitors came together and said, okay, let's show how AV technology can be used in the classroom. And we've created a feature on the show floor where we are focusing not so much on integrators, but more on educationalists to actually
Mm.
show them what's possible as a feature there. Then we've got the residential area covering home theater, covering residential solutions. Always cool, exciting stuff in there as well, seeing what's new and what you can do at a private level. We've got the central halls, hall 3 and 5, where it's just a mix of everything. But that's where you see all the big manufacturers. Samsung's there, LG's there, Sony is there, Panasonic, etc., etc. Digital signage and digital out of home has grown. And what's exciting about that, this year we see more software than ever before. So we're seeing a big difference there. Our pro audio sector has grown. So more and more companies in that sector. But what's really gone mega big is our live events hall. We've had to move it from what was half of hall 1 to the whole of hall 6 now.
Wow.
And it's really taken over the whole hall. We've got a live stage in there. So that's going to be exciting to go and see all the companies who are first time at ISE there, as well as ones who've been with us for the last couple of years. Then we move across into Hall 8, 80, where we've got our pro audio demo rooms. You'll find 18 of those big manufacturers showing how audio and large venues can be represented. And then when you go upstairs into 8.1, that's going to be cool. We've got the stage with the drone arena and the robots this year as well. We've got a esports arena, 1,000 square meters, full arena, working with a partner there. We've got, it's going to be a mixture of professional teams playing and showing how esports can be, how it works. But on the other side, we've got discussions, presentations, etc. Look at the professional side of esports and how it's relevant for the AV industry. Then we've got a discovery zone there as well. So for those smaller companies, but I skipped one part. That's where you are. That's bang smack in the middle of the show.
We're going to get to that one. Oh, trust me, we're going to talk about that one.
Well, that's what we call the Congress Square, and it's between halls 4, 5, 6, and 7, and we've got there the Innovation Park. So this is for small companies, startups. We work with an organization called Plug and Play, who focus on helping startups to market. We've got a pitching stage there where some of these companies are going to be presenting themselves, lots of discussions, pitches from companies, and that's going to be a lively area. It's always really, really busy. But that's, I'd say it's where you are as well, and in the midst of it all.
Yeah, I love that. I'm really excited about when I saw the growth, first off, seeing how much you're taking over Hall 8 with the esports. And I know there's a hackathon that's going to go on. I think that's going to be really exciting.
I mean, that hackathon is really cool. We've been thinking about it for a while, and we said, how do we approach this? And we talked to one of the Barcelona universities. And we've actually got 4 universities providing students for that. And it's going on throughout the show. And they've got challenges that they're going to be working on throughout that and presenting them on Friday.
Yes, that I think that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see that. And I just think when I see the span of it and realizing, having to move things around, I think about the growth from the first one in May, which again was, put an asterisk on that one because that was kind of coming out of COVID, and to what you're doing.
Wasn't the weather great?
Oh, yes, I will take that weather. That is the one thing about Barcelona. Obviously, better weather than Amsterdam.
Oh,
But
of course.
it is interesting because everyone's, we're bringing a huge, we'll turn to the HETMA booth now, but we're bringing a big group out and the whole board out. And those who haven't been before said, how do we, so what's the weather like? And let's see. I'm like, well, okay, take away the May one, but let's see. 1 January, it was down in like the 30s. The next year, it was in the 60s and 70s, and I didn't even wear. I'm like, so really, just bring everything because we don't know.
You should expect the 60s and 70s when we talk Fahrenheit. I think that's about right. We're looking for about 16, 17 degrees centigrade. We're metric over here, and that's pretty par for the course. Then we tend to be lucky at the beginning of February that we have that medium weather, which means during the daytime the sun's shining and it's going to be warm and you can just wear a jacket. Evenings, once the sun's gone, it's a little bit fresh, so you need a coat.
Yep, absolutely. So now, this is the exciting part here. We'll talk about, and I know you have to tell everybody that their booth is your favorite one, but we do know that your favorite booth is the new exhibitor this year, and that is it's CS220, and that is the HETMA booth. You've seen that we've done a booth at Infocom the last 2 years. We're now expanding out and showing up at ISE with just planting a flag, small one, but to do some podcast recordings, to have a home base for our higher ed people to kind of meet and build that EMEA community. So from from your point of view, managing a large show like this, what's the value of having an end user group come and and have a home base there on the floor where it's just technology manufacturers for the most part?
So when we started ISE, the majority, or sorry, almost all of our attendees were channel. It was integrators, it was distributors, it was manufacturers. We hardly had any end users. And as the years have gone on in the industry, more and more manufacturers have said to us, we actually want to see end users. You need to start marketing to them. Excuse me. And so we started to try and grow. We work with integrators to bring their customers. But what's obviously more effective is working with people like yourselves who, it's 100% everybody you're bringing are relevant for the show. And that's always the challenge. How do we get end users to the show? We have a lot of, spread when we use public national newspapers, business newspapers, etc. We're covering everybody, and yes, it's relevant to almost everybody in there as well, but it doesn't address them all straight away. So it's better to get those people first, like yourselves, who are very focused, and say we want to be there, and then we get the rest of the next part of our campaign is about those people who need to understand why AV is important for them.
Yeah.
You and your group, you understand why it's important. There are a lot of corporates out there who don't differentiate us from IT, and don't really understand, well, why should I, when the bill comes in, why are we paying this amount of money for a screen, and they need to understand these things. And the best way is for them to come to ISE, sit in some classes, sit in some presentations, understand how it's going to affect their business and how it's going to advance their business, whichever business they're in. And then go and see the manufacturers, go and see the solutions and see what's relevant for them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things kind of off of what you were saying too, and I remember we talked about this last year, is if the amount of time the show floor is open for those 4 days with the number of manufacturers you have, which is now even growing in exhibitors you have, you couldn't actually go spend,
No.
do the half-hour booth tour in each one. There's not the time there.
You can't even do a 15-minute tour and do everything.
Yeah. And so I think that's where, like, what we're hoping to bring is to say, okay, if you serve the higher ed vertical or work in the higher ed vertical, come to us. We can help guide you. We can go, here's what to find in the education zone. Here's the education summit that Eunice puts on, our happy hour we're doing, our pre-event on Monday night at the Irish pub that I know you're a fan of. But all of these things, right, where we can say, look, you have limited amount of time. We're going to give you the list of 15 must-dos so you can get the most out of the show, so that when you go home, you know that you've brought value to your boss and your institution. And then you have that extra time, go fill that with other things that interest you, but we can help spot focus you.
And that's the important part of it. And as I said, when we first started going for end users, we worked with integrators because we realized at the end, if we just let end users loose on the floor, they'd be like deer in the headlights. You're driving down the road and this deer jumps out of the woods and it just stares at you because it hasn't a clue what it's looking at. And I remember someone coming to the show the first time once and coming in and they said, oh, it's just about screens. I said, no, this is about solutions. What you're seeing is the first interface here. So I always think it's great when we have organizations like yourselves or integrators who take their customers or their members or their partners and show them what's important, to give them that more inside view and knowledge about what they should be looking at and explaining how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that really is a huge part of it, because I know I love, one of my favorite things is seeing someone who's gone for the first time and just seeing their eyes when they walk in the hall and just go, whoa. And I ask you this every year, but I'm asking you again because you keep growing. So the first time attendee, you keep going. What is your tip for them to get the most out of the show?
So the first thing I say is use the tools on our website. There's meeting makers on there, there's planning, you can sort by solution or by product. So plan your trip. Go and find out, decide on what you need to see. What are the must-sees first? And then once you've got those off your agenda, then you can just wander around and look at everything else. So plan your trip, make the meetings, organize appointments, and use the tools to do that. And take your time there. If you can spend all 4 days, that's fantastic. You'll get the most benefit out of the show. But we understand a lot of people are busy and we only spend 1 or 2 days, and we say, well, you have to be really focused on what you want to see. Enjoy the show when you're there. Enjoy the city. Barcelona is great. This industry is all about networking. Go to the Irish pub, go to the HETMA, what do you call it?
Our happy
Cocktail
hour.
event, your
Yeah.
happy hour.
On the show floor, we're doing it there at the booth. So
There you
swing by
go.
for a beverage.
Yeah. These are sort of things where you meet like minds, and you know, we don't work in silos. There are other people who face the same issues that you do, and it's always good to exchange and maybe get some solutions to the problems you've had, or ideas of what you should be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You brought up another point too, that I think is one of my favorite things about ISE is how the city really embraces the show, and you've done things. So, are there any surprises? I know you've lit up Casa Batia before, things like that. Are there any things to know about?
No, we're doing that again. We've got a new artist, David Cayola. He's going to be doing the Casabatio again. We've been into an agreement with Casabatio to introduce a new artist every year. We are working with various AV-related organizations or installations. So go to our website and you'll find the ones where, if there are any of the tours still have space on them. And there's a whole list there of tech tours. Casabatio, the Alpha 5 immersive game playing feature. We've got the St. Joan de Deo Children's Hospital. Unbelievable what they're using, how they're using AV to monitor patients and equipment. We've got the Barcelona Drone Center, Media Pro, their studios, the Off Museum, the Immersive Center at the Westfield shopping center, or the Cellnex office, and the FC Barcelona stadium.
I haven't been there. I know the first year you held it out there, maybe the second year FC Barcelona played, but it has not lined up every year. Yeah.
So you want to go to their it's their old new stadium, and they've got a museum there that's just AV. They're using AV to present how football has evolved.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I want to have now. I actually have a question that comes from Amy for you. So I told her this morning that I was talking to you and interviewing you, and she says hello, but she has a question, and it's actually a really good one. I mean, not that I'm surprised she has a good one, but you get where I'm going. And it's this: one of the things that you get, especially from North America, people come over. Barcelona is a great city to bring a +1 to. And to bring your spouse, so you might do the show for they're gonna come out with you. What is your advice for the +1s? How can they get the most of the experience, even as the ISC experience or the city experience?
Well, I can tell you. So, Amy, here it goes. Barcelona has a host of museums, theaters, galleries. You can occupy yourself for a few weeks just visiting all the cultural offers there. If you're into shopping, there's a great lot there. But if you're into eating, have you got the best restaurants around? Nightlife is great. The city has a lot to offer. The beach is, I live on the other side of the city when I'm there, and I can walk to the beach in 40 minutes. One of the only cities in the world where you can take a subway to the beach, so we don't have to walk. But it has a lot to offer. Great city to discover, great city to walk around. Culturally, I discover so many things. I'm there almost every second week, and every time I'm finding new things. I love when I have time. I walk between meetings and just discover things. I think the architecture is phenomenal. So there's a lot to enjoy.
Yeah, see, tell you, you've got to make a vacation out of it. I'm having a number of my UCLA team are actually coming out this year to prepare for our stuff, and a couple are bringing their +1s, tacking on the weekend afterwards and before, and get a little bit out of it. So I tell you, it's a wonderful city and area to be able to do that, especially if you're coming from all the way from LA. Do a little stop.
So if you're going to do something, a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, I went to the La Salle University, the Ramon forget the name always, these pronunciations. But anyway, the La Salle University, and they have an AV research lab in there. And I went into, what do you call it? Gosh, the name's forgot. Come to me in a second. It's a room where there's no echo.
Oh yeah, I've been to one of those. Like
Unbelievable.
like
Unbelievable.
silent rooms or whatever they're called. Yeah, those are crazy.
But they are doing a lot of research into new sound and vision solutions, and it's quite amazing to actually go and see something like that, seeing how universities are doing their PhD programs into what's going to come in the future in our industry.
Absolutely. I love that. I love it. I'm excited about this. I get pumped every year for this show. And now also just so people know, it is actually in February. I learned a fun fact today on before we hit record that you move this around. So why does the show move around? Why is it a week later this year?
So when we started the show and started picking up business from China, and it was quite funny actually at the very beginning. We were approaching the Chinese companies, and they were all saying, "Oh, we're too busy with the domestic market." But since 15 odd years, they've been exporting a lot more to North America and Europe, etc. And we have more than 350 Chinese companies, and they have something called New Year, and it's a little bit later than our New Year, but it's not on a fixed date; it shifts. It's lunar, and every 3 years it falls on top of ISE. So we moved the show to avoid it being in the middle, because for the Chinese, it's like just as important as Christmas or Thanksgiving. It's a time they want to spend with their families. So we were advised that we should move the show to accommodate those individuals, which is what we do. And I was quite amazed that you told me that another big North American tech show also moves its dates. And it wouldn't surprise me, because they have even more Chinese exhibitors than we do. That they do it for the same reason.
I'm willing to bet that's got to be the case. So that is crazy. And it's funny because I just thought, well, it's just the way the weekends fall. It's the way you can get the venue. But I love that you're thinking strategic about that, right?
Our thoughts and planning go. We are already planning for 2027. Not just 26, but 27, because we have to really think about what we put where, how we manage flow, the effect of putting a company like Samsung or Crestron in a location and what that does on flow. These are all sort of things we have to consider. And it means a lot of forward thinking and discussions with those companies as well.
Yeah, it's funny. Speaking of flow, another thing I think we should, for people who have been there before, am I correct to say there's a new entrance open this year as well, right? You don't have to.
It was open last year, but it was a little bit hidden. So a couple of tips here. So we have 3 entrances. We have the south entrance. That's the big one near the Red Tower. We have the east entrance. That's on the east side of the venue. Then we have the north entrance, which is at the other end. So if you want to get to the fastest way to the HETMA booth, go to the north entrance, because that's the shortest walk then, coming back across Hall 8, and then you'll be there in 5 minutes. There'll be less queues there as well. Now, if you're, depending which part of the city you're coming from, if you're coming to Plaza España with the metro, you can get the metro directly to the venue. And I'm not sure which line it is, but there's one that goes to the north entrance or the east entrance. But we also have buses running from Plaza Catalunya, if you're staying at a hotel near there, or from Plaza España. We have buses running that will take you to those entrances as well. So look at, if you booked a hotel via ISE, you'll see if it's not next to a metro station or not in the vicinity of a metro station, we have a free bus running generally.
That is great. That is great. I love how you think
about the other thing as well is not to forget, when you once you arrive, so if you print your badge before you arrive, when you come into the airport, either Terminal 1 or 2, look in the baggage area and there'll be a desk. There'll be an ISE desk there, and you show them your printed badge and they'll give you a metro ticket. It's valid for 5 days from the first day you use it, free of charge from us.
Wow.
Otherwise, you can pick it up at the show entrance. And there are certain crush times of the day when I would advise you get on the metro, because it'll be, you may wait a long time for a taxi, and the metro is pretty effective.
Yeah, that is a good point. I will say to everybody, if you leave the show right at 6 o'clock when it ends, you
Long
might as
line.
well just walk to La Rambla, okay? Because you ain't gonna get a taxi for a while,
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a good point. So I love that you offer that metro, and I'm gonna do that. I am gonna print my thing pass ahead of time, and get a little metro. I like that, because that is something we didn't pick that up till about day 3 last year. Going, you know what? We should jump on the metro when we're out of here, or else you're just sitting forever. So that is the only thing, because again, there's so much to do on the show floor. You don't get the normal kind of people bailing out early that you do at other shows, because you've got to be there the whole time it's open, especially if you're only coming for 2 or 3 of the days.
We have to be kicking people out.
Yep. So all right. So now I just have one other. Well, our little quick quickies for you. 2 things. One, last year you gave me. I asked about paella and where to go. You gave me an incredible uh, place, a place to go, and it was Mana 75, whatever, in the hotel or whatever that's over on the thing by the marina, and that was fantastic. So give me a hidden gem, a food hidden gem in
A
Barcelona.
food hidden gem. Do I have to tell you all my places to hide?
I'm going to find you. You can't hide at night. I'm going to find you, and we're going to have a meal.
All right, I tell you what. There's a place in town on the marina called the Timeout Market, and the Timeout Market is just like it's above a shopping center at the marina, and the top floor is it's one big presentation area, with tables, and they've got a stage, and they have live music there, and they've got different restaurants, and they're all 3-star restaurants. So they can only be there if they have a 3-star restaurant in the city, and they're surrounding all there. So you can go and choose. And if you're going as a group, and one guy says, "Well, I want Chinese," and the other wants Italian, or whatever, you can just sit in one place, but you get the food from the different places and sit down and eat there. And they've got a separate bar. I think one night is jazz, one night is rock. I'm not sure of the agenda, but it's called the Timeout Market. That's a recommendation. One of my absolute favorite places, the Martinez Terrace, which is above Montjuic. If you go out the back door of the venue and go up the hill, it's a 5-minute taxi ride. That's a great restaurant. I have another one, which is at the top of the hill in right on the other side of the city. You'll see Tibidabo Mountain. And so if you're looking from, Barcelona is surrounded by 3 mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one of them with a big TV tower on it, and a fun fair, Ferris wheel. And that's Tibidabo. And at the halfway up there, there's a funicular that goes up, and there's a few little restaurants where you get phenomenal view across the city.
Yes.
What else? I mean, you're just spoiled.
You got them. I mean, you've got them all. Let's see that if this ISE thing doesn't work out, you can become a food and travel
restaurant guide. Yeah,
there we go.
Do you know Barcelona has a restaurant called Disfruta, and it was voted last year the best restaurant in the world. Now,
wow.
Yeah. Don't try and get a booking, because last time I looked, I was looking for the whole of 25, and I could not find a single date free. So
yeah, it's probably just their family that books them all to make it look like it's all. No, just all right. Very. Yeah, you never know. Very last question for you, for anyone who attends. So they say my experience at ISC was successful if ... Fill in the rest.
For me, when I meet the right people, particularly Joe Way, but for me, my experience at ISE is always the best when I've seen lots of new cool stuff. I'm like a kid in a toy store. Cool stuff and cool people.
Yeah, and there was a lot of that at ISC. That is for
Yeah.
sure. It is a lot, and it's amazing. I encourage everybody to go. More than that, I actually encourage people to use the code ISE 2025 HETMA for a free show floor pass. Come stop by booth CS 220, especially if you're in higher ed or serve higher ed. We've got great things. Obviously, doing some podcast recordings, and of course, our higher ed happy hour on Thursday. And also you can follow at higheredav.com/ISE 2025 for all of our coverage. So make sure to that. And then very last thing, Mike, please tell people how they can get a hold of you and learn more about ISE.
Well, you can find me, you can find everything about ISE at our website, so www.iseurope.org. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on X, ISE_Mike, or mblackman at iseurope.org.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for giving me my favorite start to every year and being able and coming on and discussing. You do nothing but get us all hyped up and ready for an incredible show. Good luck in the last few weeks, as I'm sure this is
Thank
pressure
you.
time as it comes together, and we will see you in Barcelona.
Looking forward to it, Joe.